Welcome to the All-Terrain Bicycle Challenge, Season 2, Flesh It Out, Episode 2, The Panel. And you are the panel. Each of you will give a score, 1 through 10. Decimal points are strongly encouraged because they're fun. So, use them if you want, but don't feel don't feel like you have to use them. And I think we should, because there is no actual order, I think we're going to start with how we saw them introduced in the film. And we're going to start with the first team, which is Alaskan Snow Kittens.
We've moved to the ethereal time of no lights and the slow procession of dawn. Here we are, not even 1/5 of the way into our route, and we're turning back.
We're now pushing back our hard-earned 17 miles. So physically that's kind of cool. Woo! For you! I made it out of the mountains. I am alive.
Okay, so guys, that was Alaska Snow Kittens.
I found brave.
Taylor, you're up, Taylor.
I felt like the heartbreak of turning around and then walking through like the tracks that you had pushed through for 17 miles all the way back. That just, that would be a deep trip.
I feel like it's tough too because their ride
So cold.
so cool. Their ride is dark. They don't go. There's not a ton of variety what you see there. But they're like walking for they walked for 30 miles. Like that's hard to do.
Like the feet, like your feet would just be ice blocks. Like you can't move them. And no, thank you. Not for me personally.
Sam, physical expert. What do you think? Where are we gonna give them?
So, I'm going to be a little bit hard on them, right? Because when we look at, the course was difficult, it was ambitious, it was cold, and it's really hard for me to isolate the physical from everything else. But I did not feel like I got to really see them go through a bunch of different types of physical things. It was a lot of bike pushing, which I appreciate. It's cold, but I'm going to give them a 5.
Sam's a hard
I like this, Sam. Not impressed. I like negative stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Spiritual score. Euro Taylor. What do you think? What do we got?
Right, something that I wrote down here for the Alaska Snow Kittens was a quote that I heard, that they were healed enough.
I've healed so much, I know I got no business being out here.
And they were on their way back. And while I do have respect for recognizing your own limitations, I feel that the healing never ends. So I'm gonna be a little bit hard on the Alaska Snow Kittens as well, especially since Sam pointed out that they were back in the lodge warming themselves up. Could have spent the whole night there, I'm gonna give them a little bit better though. I'm gonna give them 6. Then I'll have a card.
Mental score. Alaska Snow Kittens. Mental expert.
Oh, that's me. I'm the mental expert. Yeah. Well, I want to start with, it's hard to gauge, you've got two, right? You've got two, when it comes to a mental challenge, you have 2 spectrums. Okay. You've got completely dumb. And then you've got an adventure, something that is realistic, reasonable, and you could test yourself against. And then there's, the opposite, which is just stupidity. I'm not calling these guys stupid by any means, but it's when you put a route out there like that and you look at the metrics and you're like, okay, and it's going to be 4 degrees, mostly in the dark.
They didn't know that it would be 4 degrees though when they planned.
It's Alaska, is it not? I mean, is it,
Aren't they Alaskan?
Yeah.
I appreciate the the gumption for sure. Thinking that something like that is possible, but it felt to me like it was a bit like, okay, let's think of like the dumbest thing that we can do. Let's throw it out there and go for it. And I don't think that they ever really, if you really think about a trip like that, you're not going to finish, and you shouldn't start it, because you're not going to have a good time. Like, and all those, I bet you everybody who went on that trip probably didn't ride their bikes for months. And so, mentally, I got to give it, it's like, do you give a high score for doing something that's, logically impossible? Or do you give a high score for something like, oh, wow, I really respect them for trying that? And so, I do have to give them some, I don't know. Should I ask, what do you guys think? I don't know.
It's off.
You got this, brother.
Yeah.
I think that you're forgetting that the weather was against them in this instance. It could have been that they could have had fine weather, and that this route would have been an appropriate amount of challenge for them. I think they did get sort of sideswiped by the timing of it, but they did choose to pick that knowing that it's a risk that the weather could be shit.
Yeah.
Right. That's the risk,
Okay. Ronnie, give us a number.
All right. I'm giving them a 7.5. 7.5.
I didn't see that coming. Great.
Okay.
I'm impressed with the gumption.
Emotional score. What do you think?
Yes. Okay. So I didn't actually write that many notes for these guys because I felt like their scope and their emotional range, it wasn't really giving, it just didn't have much range. Basically, it was a snow route, and I think that the only thing you're going to get out of that is misery. So, some of the outcomes that I've got written down here, did each team manage and nurture their individual and team? I don't feel like, it felt like 3 individuals on that trip, and they were all suffering in their own unique way, and I just didn't feel like there was much giving to others and much support. Did each team feel the full spectrum and range of human emotion? No, I think it was just total misery. Not much joy, although there was some fun rhyming at the beginning. I like that. So, as much as I admired them, I feel like I'm going to give them a 5 because I felt like the vibes were low.
Shulligan sisters. They're next up. We're gonna panel. We're gonna focus our attention on Shulligan sisters.
Breaking news: we have our first wet foot of the day. Oh, it's a wet foot. That's a wet foot. The falls of tough.
Carolyn fell down the hill.
I'm gonna need some assistance. That's scary, man. Yeah, my bike is like suspended in a tree. So we've reached the eating chocolate straight out the packet stage of the day. I feel like this lock has defeated us. Bog, and some more bog. Welcome to the final stretch of our ATB challenge. 2-kilometer hike through just pure bog. Again, deep bog.
Shulligan sisters. Okay. Sam, as our physical expert, we're gonna start with you. Shulligan sisters, physical score, what do you think?
Yeah, so I think that course itself was very difficult. We had water, slippery rocks, we had bikes in trees, bogs on cliffs. They did not do the whole route, but there are some extra things that I appreciate they did for their physical, right? So they were checking bodies. I love a body check when somebody falls. Make sure everybody's okay. They brushed their teeth. Love that. They cooked dinner in the loo. Love it.
Oh yeah.
So much. You know what I mean? And we're doing upper body work with trees and bikes and trees. It's good. So I'm gonna give them a 10. If I could give them 10,000, I would.
Wow. Okay, well we know who Sam wants to win.
Spiritual Shulligan sisters. European tailor.
When I'm observing this from a spiritual standpoint, I was looking for smiles. Okay, I feel like the smile is the window to the heart soul. Whatever that means. I felt like the Shulligan sisters had a lot of smile. Even though they were like, they're getting their feet wet like from the start, you know? I never get my feet wet. You can ask Ron about getting his feet wet.
No way. No way.
It really is a before and after. Like everything sucks after that. You're like, now my fucking feet are wet.
But they were giggling. And they were, you know, maybe not at that moment, but we saw them smiling. And I really appreciated that. So I gave them 8. I also like the concept of the moss snap.
I love moss snap.
Just sounds so luscious, you know. And I feel really from a spiritual perspective, there's no deeper you can dive into the spiritual than from moss. So, and moss snap makes a lot of sense.
So now, I didn't hear a critique, and yet you gave an 8.
Oh shit.
Here we call it out, Sam. Yeah.
It's scary. See something, say something.
I think it's pretty clear that there is a certain docking for I would say their use of error bars, which was discussed in the comment. I have to say that just when you add that kind of raciness to the spiritual plane, you know, that astral plane is meant to be experienced with flow. And when you're one person with arrow bars in a group of 3, unless you're telling those ladies along and that's what they're asking for, I don't think that takes 1 point off for me.
Is it?
And then the other point is just because I want to leave some room in case somebody else surprises me as we continue to digest.
Roddy,
They might still be my winners, but I'm not. They're up there, but I wanna.
8's a good score, and 8's a solid score.
So I question Sam's 10/10,000 because they didn't finish their course. So it feels like a 10 for an incomplete project.
I will challenge that, right? I think you have to think about the goal overall, right? They completed what they went there to complete. They got what they wanted to get. They gave what they needed to give, physically, emotionally, spiritually. What's the other one? Mentally. And I feel like they could. I do feel like they completed it in that sense.
Sam, I'm reminded of the J.R. Tolkien quote, "Not all who wander are lost." You know, it's a little bit of the journey. You know,
Heard that one.
mental score. Let's hear it. Let's have it right now.
Yeah, you know, I've several points I'm taking off right off the bat. I liked this group. Again, I want to point to the smiles. Mentally, that's pretty big up there with on the scoreboards. You know, I didn't see anybody. I don't know if it's just the footage that you all use, but someone was smiling in that group the entire time, which is pretty cool. The arrow bars, I'm tempted to take 5 points off just for arrow bars. You know, that's how strongly I feel about this rule. You know, we try to say everybody can an ATV, but not with arrow bars. No, no exceptions there. So if you know, I can't speak off with that because I feel like mentally you don't really, you know, like if you're using that kind of gear, you're mentally just not really there. You know,
Ronnie, Taylor brought something up. European Taylor says, what if you're using it to carry? And then I'm reminded that Sam said, those aren't arrow bars. Those are snack holders.
Well, they are diabolic. No,
There's no way around it.
if you're a natural environment, expect any respect from me, So it's. Sorry.
Okay.
So okay, arrow bars, points off. I'm already at an 8 there, right? 2 points off.
2 points for arrow bars.
Yeah, that's on an ETB bike. It's not sanctioned. I should be taking more points off for not finishing the course. That was some rugged terrain. I'm not going to take that away from him. That looked like, I'm partial to boggy terrain, from being from New England. Bogs are, that's it. Bogs are a strong component of ATB in this area. And seeing them navigate those bogs on that slippery track and seeing them have to lower their bikes down, bring them back up with all the smiles and everything, that I wanted to like them. I wanted to really like them. I wish I could look past the arrow bars, I wish I could look past pick up. I wish I could look past not completing the course. I'm going to go with 7.6.
Oh, dude.
That's fine. No, let him do that.
Georgia, as our emotional expert.
Yes. Hard to fault these girlies with their emotional states. They were on just a giggle fest the entire. I don't think that just because they were giggling a lot didn't mean that they weren't experiencing some deep lows and mild depression. So I think that I did think that they had the full scope of emotions. I guess if I'm trying to think of a fault, I would have liked to have seen more jokes. I'm going to give the girlies an 8.9.
Okay, the next team up is Out to Lunch.
We are currently descending the side of a mountain right now. Oh gosh. We have a lot of hours on this river.
Thought I wasn't gonna make it. Thought about quitting the whole time, but we did it. Gimme a man after midnight.
Tell us, will you ever do a bike race again?
Never. We did it.
Sam, you kick us off. We get right into physical things. Let's get physical.
All right. So the course looked mildly difficult. It was interesting to view. We had some rock faces. We had some mud. We had some cold rafting for a long time overnight. We found some limits. So varied terrain, really cool to see. Really cool to see a different something other than bikes. Did they dig deep? I feel like they dug like a cat hole. We weren't going like six feet under. I feel like they completed their course within the allotted time, and I never felt that there was a moment where they're like, we might not make it.
Okay, Sam, what do you think? What do we got?
7.2.
Okay.
From a spiritual standpoint, I'm personally, as if I'm some sort of a knowledgeable person, I'm personally looking for adventures with friends that are, you have the threshold here and you're just kind of like gently massaging that threshold, and that threshold is opening, but it's being massaged.
That it is.
And at the same time, you're also expressing yourself with your outfits, and they had a freaking radio, They did some wild stuff. They did some things that would scare me, but I felt like I appreciated their journey, the fact that they made it, that they knew what that threshold was, and that they're going to kind of come out of it with an idea of wanting to do more things. maybe pushing that threshold again ever so slightly. So I had originally given them kind of a lower score, but as we've been debating, I feel like I'm gonna give them a 9.
Whoa. Wow.
I love
So
it.
they're my leaders.
Mentally, Ronnie.
Yeah,
Out to
mentally.
lunch. They out
mentally,
to lunch?
out to lunch. That was going to be my joke too. Yeah, you
Oh,
know,
shit.
mentally. Worked a long time on that one. Mentally out to lunch. So, you know, in this instance, I think being mentally out to lunch played in their favor. You know, it's more the more you're aware of something happening around you. If you're hyper aware of it, if you're not tapping into something deeper, like the rhythm of the actual course, you know, which I think Out to Lunch really found out there. You know, that's a really good mental place to be in. You're like, you are immersed into this experience. Like you are one with that experience mentally. I know this is sounding a little bit spiritual, but that's a really good mental place to be, because even if you crash, you're surrounded by people that are doing the same thing like that, and they're in that same mindset, and everything just becomes a big party, and you're able to push through, you know? And so having an attitude like that plays really well. And I also personally enjoyed the razzle dazzle. Those sunglasses, I mean, those are real diamonds, no doubt. And so I've got to think like, wow, you know, I know like that kind of opulence isn't seen as cool anymore, you know, but that's some really wealthy style. You know, that's a very expensive pair of sunglasses to be bringing out in a place like that. That's kind of being like, mentally, that's another good place to be in. So, you know, not caring about that, but caring about that, because that was a style choice, and also completing the route and having that be a pretty badass route too. Like it looked really, really cool. You know, I don't think they could have picked a better place to plan a route like this, other than Connecticut, of course. I'm going to give them a 9.2.
Oof. We're beefing it up.
I'm beefing it up.
Huh.
That was the spirit of ATB to me. They went out and did it.
100%.
No challenge from me. That's it.
100%.
Yeah.
Georgia, what's your emotional outlook for this team?
Well, so I wrote a few notes. Support for each other was a 10. Tenderness and cuteness factor, 11. They had a full range of emotions, plus glamour. And because they had a roller coaster, unlike the Scotland crew, where they really did have a lot of emotional stability, I felt like these guys did not have emotional stability, but I loved that for them. And they really rolled the roller coaster with like a lot of entertainment for the viewer. And this is the kind of bike tour that I love to go on. These are my crew, and so I wanted to give them a 9.7. They started out with my body is like a river and my bike is the canoe. It's beautiful. That's spirituality. Beautiful. I'm surprised you didn't bring that up.
Our next team is birds per mile.
It's a loggerhead shrike. Here. Really cool find. We have to be tuned into our environment. Oh, bird sighting. That looks like a Woodhouse's scrub jay. Luckily, all of our crap that we stash is here, so we actually get to raft this dinky little stream. I just don't think it's possible to keep going. I don't think I'll ever do anything this psychotic again.
Yeah, this is so fucked up. They suck so fucking bad. Oh my god.
This is portage.
No, this is portage. Literally portage 40.
I genuinely can't believe we're here right now. At this entire point in the day, this never seemed like an obtainable task. That's it, dude.
Okay, panel experts. That was burst per mile. As always, we start with Sam.
So, in terms of course difficulty and the course being interesting and ambitious, I do think it was ambitious to, again, similar to Out to Lunch, raft, to bike. Blowing up a raft is a lot of work. like a whole lot of work, like physically that takes a while and it's like really annoying and irritating. And then I ended up giving them a little bit higher score than Out to Lunch, mostly because those short little portages during the raft section, that really messes with like your physical flow of being in something and doing something. You can't kind of get into the state where it's, you know, like repetitive or just, you know, your body knows what it's doing and it's kind of moving down this path. You keep having to get out and drag the raft and do all this stuff. So I gave them an 8.3.
Taylor, spirituality is important.
Yeah, I would say that I really appreciated the complete crack that happened in this group.
Fuck this. Oh no. Ah! Oh no!
Like, it was drawn right through the middle, and it was like, they got into deep territory. So I respected them for that on a spiritual level. I feel like they could have perhaps been a bit smarter about knowing the river condition. Does that apply to the spiritual? I'm not really sure, but I gave them, I'm gonna give them, I went low at first, but we've been kind of upping the game recently, and I'm gonna give them an 8.
I like it. Mental Ronnie. Ronnie the Mentalist.
Well, the mentalist is here. Have no fear. What I'm thinking is, you know, the fact that they had to backtrack, the mental attitude with the birding and everything, that's always real nice. You know, I thought that they were having a good time seemingly at points. Of course, all that portaging in a muddy, like barbed wire infested river looked awful and very hard on the mind. But at the same point, they could just stash it up anywhere seemingly and go get it later. So, you know, the commitment really isn't there. So I'm going to go with a 7.1.
Brutal. Okay.
These are hard routes. You can't go super low. These are still brutal routes.
I'm not sure why. Their journey didn't really speak to me. But I did like at the beginning that they registered their own vibe check, which there was a quote from there. The vibes are good, and by that I mean horrible. And that was really at the beginning of their journey, and so I just felt like that was indicative of their journey therefore after. So like, I just felt like there wasn't that much joy, and then also there was that moment at the end when Jake seemingly toyed with people's emotions by saying it's all downhill from here, which we know is just the most horrible thing to say. And I just feel like so emotionally I felt like this wasn't a great trip for me, but I can respect what they did, and I do respect their journey, and I can imagine the emotional roller coaster as they were going through that river section, which was sort of like, you know, the peak sort of like takeaway from their journey. I think that was definitely the hardest for them. I'm going to give them a 6.8.
Ooh.
At them. Nice. Okay, next team. Secure material attachment.
First 1,500 feet in the bag.
I mean, dude, we've climbed 4,000 feet already.
Yeah.
In like, what, 18 miles?
Yeah.
Which is like kind of...
All right, we just found ground donuts. We're gonna eat them.
Ding dong.
Ding dong.
These nerds, they think
I
they're
should be
so
full of
cool.
gas. That is not good.
No.
We're just gonna get to 150 at this point of riding, and then we can add up all of our little bonus doohickeys later.
I loved the ambition of this course. The biking plus summiting, running, that was cool. The high winds and snow caused them to abandon because up at altitude. So they rolled around the canyon, which was less cool, but they're still getting after it, still pushing themselves, still trying to make it through the night so they can continue. There are some things that they got docked for. I love that they ate donuts they found on the side of the road. And at the same time, I feel there was no need to do that. Because they had the luxuries of the city. They had everything they needed. They could always go back to the city and get food and a sandwich and whatever they needed. So that was completely, like, you all didn't need to eat a road donut, especially in this day and age. So they're getting docked for that. To this course, they get a 6.9.
That's a good number, though. Are you sure you want to? I mean,
I would give them a 6.8.
I feel like from a spiritual standpoint, the fact that they were going and, like you said, touching the peaks of these mountains, running up to the top. At first, I didn't really understand it because I just come from a bike-only oriented background. But when I think about it from a spiritual standpoint, the ability to get like into that much quiet and be able to just be like up at the top of this mountain with your buddies, like at the top, at a pinnacle. So yeah, my score is a 7.
Ronald, mentally, how about these guys? Pure paternal.
you know what, Dan? I don't like the hub and spoke. I don't like it. I think mentally, I think that shows that you're not expansive enough. You're not like thinking big picture. You're not thinking big adventure. You're thinking micro adventures, and you're trying to bite. You're focused more on like this noise and less on, the great opus of it all. It's they're going back into civilization, back and forth. You saw where they were going. Where was it? Carson City, Nevada. It's a big town. It takes you completely out of the experience when you go back to something like that. And I think mentally that is it's not something that needs to be applauded. And there was also aero bars on these guys. So at least one set of aero bars, as to be expected with a more athletic crew. But it really didn't do it for me. This one I'm going 6.5.
Wow.
Yeah.
6.5.
Like the running and everything, but you're going back to town in between each one.
Everyone is tapping into this like access to Carson City thing in the kind of like the more of a hub and spoke kind of a course shape. That can be a version of the spirit of ATB. Like I like the fact that you can like walk into a saloon in the middle of your ride and like, because the Italians, they did this too, and I loved it. Like they're like, I'm gonna have let's have panini, let's have a nice coffee. Probably was a really nice coffee because it was Italy. It had to have been an amazing coffee.
Okay, well, yes, I enjoyed this journey actually, and what the main takeaway is that there was a lot of use of the word regret, and I like hearing the word regret in a bike tour because it means that your emotional journey is expansive, and I think that you have to have a bit of regret when you're on a bike tour to really make it a decent bike tour, and it proves that they've had like emotional scope on the journey because I think they had some good time, but I just like hearing the word regret. So you could also see in the body language that there was some extreme hardships and some like emotional toil. I think there was signs of depression in the body language and the slumping of the shoulders when they're walking inside of their hiker bike. So I do think that there was a large scope, and I did think that they had a bit of a crew going. I thought that they got along just fine, and they had elements of looking after each other, but I think they were very strong riders. They're very athletic, and they probably required minimal caretaking on each other. I think they were just sort of very mentally strong. So I'm going to give him a 7.5.
Yeah, Rayon Vert.
When I grow up, I want to be like this. Oops. You want to live here? I want to live where the olives grow. Look at the moon. Try to catch the moon. Can you see the moon? Yes, there's a full moon.
How is it?
Well, fuck!
And there was like a whole area was completely covered by mud. The road was gone.
We are celebrating 100 kilometers
Yeah!
on the track, baby.
What's good?
Always climbing. Maybe it's just because I suck at climbing.
Terra cingendolo dall'oro. Al sol della primavera.
So Andrea's bike is broken.
The gear is done.
Yes, the levers are fucked up and he's gonna take it single speed.
Cheers. Comunque raga, queste robe.
Many rivers that they did indeed cross looked impassable. And that is physically that is physically gaining point. They were really good at eating. Fuel for the body is going to ensure that the body can continue to move on. They were good at being lost and accepting that and physically pushing on. They single-speeded their bikes, which I have an immense amount of respect for, and continued to ride. There were things like roads and mini cities and little coffees that made me a little, okay, we could maybe push ourselves a little more physically. So the score I'm going to give them is a 7.1.
Taylor, what do you think spiritually with these guys?
Well, I think spiritually we have to keep in mind that they are in the Holy Land. They are in Italy. They would have passed so many churches. So, churches of Little Virgin Mary's on the side of the road. I can see that probably none of them were into that. But it affected their journey nonetheless. I wrote 3 things down. Always climbing.
Here.
Fucked up. Until the last hour. So I respected that they went all the way to the end of their time slot. I believe I'm correct in that. That was kind of, they were maybe more based on time coming with that. And so I gave them a 8.9.
Okay, Ronnie, mentalist.
The mentalist. Well, touching on what Taylor mentioned, I've ridden that section of Tuscany also and tried to make it as hard as possible on the, we started on the Via Francigena, and then connected over to the Trans-Tuscany route or whatever. It was supposed to be like this, it started off pretty difficult over the Carrera mines, but quickly became pretty tame. It's really hard to stay off-road in that area. I tried to route my best and it was hard, and you do, it's an amazing place to ride because you go in and out of all these cool little villages and you've got lots of resupplies and things like that. And the other end of that sword is that it's not very mentally taxing because you've got everything. You're in the lap of luxury there. You're in the Holy Land. You've got it all. It's Italy. I liked their overall, overall attitude towards the whole thing, pushing it till the end. That takes some mental fortitude to not just, take a bus or hitchhike the rest of the way or something, So you got to give them something, but, I'm not terribly impressed by their mental capabilities here. Or I take that back. They're probably very capable mentally, but, they didn't really show it off for us. I got to give them. I got to give them. Way to go, 6.8.
Georgia, I feel like I can't wait because this, of all of the teams, we really knew where we were kind of going as a panel. There wasn't a whole. This one feels really kind of like this to me. So I can't wait to hear what you think about their emotional conditions or emotional vibes out there.
Well, I've been taking notes since everyone else has had their opinions because I think that my initial thoughts has swayed hearing what your opinions were. So I wrote a couple more notes, but one of the first notes I wrote down, I mean, this was when like they first popped on the screen and I just typed romance and I just felt like this journey was very romantic. He even said the mood was romantic. He labeled it himself. The accent and everything, it just like kind of oozed romance for me. And then I said I would have liked to have seen more kissing with this crew because I just felt like the vibes were there. They were tight. They were tight. I personally was delighted and charmed by the journey. I loved their pit stops, the little cafe, and you know, reaching into the fridge to get the red wine and that sort of stuff. I just thought this seems like a really pleasant journey for them. Maybe it wasn't pleasant, but as a viewer, it was pleasant to watch. I also thought their emotional stability and rationality was beautiful, but after listening to everybody's thoughts, I actually wondered now if it's because the hardships weren't as prominent as some of the other journeys that we saw. And so rather than feeling the full scope of a bike tour, I felt like maybe the hardships weren't there to really, you know, sink yourself down into the depths and then really receive the highs. So not sure if they gauged the whole scope there. But I did see a lot of positive mental fortitude. So, but I just think that maybe the journey wasn't as difficult as the others. So I'm just going to give them a flat 6.
Ooh. Wow, I thought that was going to be higher.
That sounds like the right hierarchy to me.
Okay, this is like speak now or forever hold your peace kind of a moment.
I feel like maybe it's a bit harsh on the Alaskan guys to be
that low.
I think they'll be all right.
Were we to arrange for all of us to go for a ride that was organized by any one of these teams, we're taking all of us, all 6 of us. Mythical State's paying. We're gonna call one of the teams and be like, "Yo, we're gonna come ride with you." What team are we calling?
I think I'm going to Scotland.
Yeah.
I feel Scotland.
I'm going to Scotland.
Scotland.
North Scotland.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I want to tour with the people who are smiling the whole time. You know.
Yeah.
So if we could organize a ride, we would organize a ride with the Shulligan sisters.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
Everybody aero bars. The show.
Damn it! I forgot.
Already in Europe, can we call Rayon Vert and just hit that up next though? Because that also looked
Rayon Vert. You guys say it right.
Panel, I feel like you guys put a lot of real, genuine time and energy and thought and concern and care into this, and I think we gotta. I think the ranking feels really right to me personally, and I think it's great. I think we have our winner.
Team Out to Lunch has done the unthinkable. High fives all around.
We did it.
2, 1. Out to
Woo! All right, let's do this.